Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I have a hard time sleeping at night. So what is the stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients helps support better sleep quality and recovery. It's one thing you can do every single day and costs you less than $3 a day. So it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
You heard the rest. Now here's the best. Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello, Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back after a, quiet weekend. Nothing too special. Had some UFC fights on watching. Was going to try to do a live show, but just wasn't feeling it this week. But before we get into the show, head over to staytunesports.net so you can follow all of our social media accounts, which is on the right-hand side there. And a little bit of updated website as well. Got the iRacing leagues that we're involved with, as well as new logos. And speaking of the logos, I want to introduce our guest today. King, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you been?
Pretty good. First off, just want to thank you for updating the logo there. Hell of a lot better looking than what we had the past couple of years.
I wouldn't
purpose,
say that. I would not say that. Well, to be fair, I made the other logo too. But so don't say that. First of all, this is a hell of a lot better than the other one. Well, I made that one too, so you're kind of insulting me on that one as well.
I mean, you took mine, and mine was like a C, I would say, and you made it an A+.
But that one, because that one was kind of an amalgamation of the logo before that. Then here's the thing. Stay Tuned Sports, this wonderful project you've had going on now for, I think it's about 6 years now. In those 6 years, I think it's had about 7 different logos for it. And I just remember you and me having a conversation about it and just being like, I think what we need is something that this podcast hasn't had, and that's brand kind of unity as far as that goes. So just kind of making sure that everything looks like it belongs together, because there are some times where you look at some things and it was like it was this logo, but then it was also the past logo, and it was another logo beyond that, and it's like maybe we just need to refresh everything, just make everything nice and neat and branded. And I certainly hope that I've been able to do that there with this new set there for you. So I certainly hope you like it. I certainly hope all the listeners like it as well. Because that's really the key thing. Listen, as much as I may like it or you may like it, you got to hope that the people like it.
Yeah.
As with anything.
I mean, me personally, there was a couple. The one I definitely, because you made like 3 different versions, like you said. But the one is definitely a logo that I could put on one of my iRacing trucks or iRacing cars, and the main logo is going to look really nice on a hoodie.
I think so. I think that's going to look really good on a hoodie. I'd eventually see, here's the thing. When I made it, one of the things that was in my head was like, will this look good on a hockey jersey? Or or like you said, like a hoodie.
Yeah.
Or a t-shirt or something like that. Something that you would wear. And after doing it, I was like, I think that would look great. I think that would look, particularly good. And I kind of wanted to also mix a couple elements. I wanted to mix kind of a bit of it kind of looks like a bit of a hockey crest, hockey logo. It kind of has a baseball kind of script to it. It has a little bit almost of a, like you said, almost like a little bit of a racing element too, with some of the stuff that I did with it. I kind of wanted to meld a lot of the stuff, because again, this is Stay Tuned Sports. You talk about all sports, everything that's out there. So I kind of wanted to meld all that together, a little bit of football, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of hockey, a little bit of racing, a little bit, hey, listen, one day it might be on a UFC mat. I don't know. I think it would look good there, just personally.
That would be awesome to see that in the middle of the octagon and Joe Rogan saying he's hurt when he just tripped over a Lego or something.
Joe gets over there trying to interview somebody who just got concussed into the fourth dimension. Yeah, that'd be great. Hey, you just got knocked out by another guy. How do you feel after that?
I will never forget that interview. I don't know if you've seen it. It was Alistair Overeem, and dude was talking about like chips and salsa or whatever, and Joe Rogan's over here talking about hot dogs, like nothing even close to what happened. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Joe Rogan as a commentator. You definitely need someone who knows the sport, who knows the different styles.
Joe is an MMA guy through and through. He is. No matter what you want to say about him in any other aspect or whatever, Joe is an MMA guy.
Yeah. And definitely a guy I would not fuck with.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No.
You ever see the videos of him doing leg kicks?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
Jesus.
it. He's apparently, I didn't know, like, in watching a couple of his podcasts, the thing I didn't know is, like, he's been into MMA combat sports for, like, 30 years now, since he was, like, a late teen, early 20s. Like, when he was still doing, like, Fear Factor and stuff, like, he was still doing all that stuff, so he never gave it up, and you could tell he's still jacked as hell. God, eating his elk meat and whatever the hell else he does.
And the story of he's the one supposedly, like when UFC was pretty much dead, and it was considered chicken fighting and all that. He was the one that went to Dana White and the Ferrari brothers and said, "Hey, I think you guys should buy this company. This may be the next sport." So he already had that background, and I think that's what helped him realize this sport has a potential to be a moneymaker.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it has been. And, seeing where I remember as a very young teenager, I remember the first UFCs as being like the videotapes that you could get at like Blockbuster.
Yeah, the VHSs.
Like at my Blockbuster, there was like a downstairs part of the Blockbuster. You can go find some other stuff there and like obscure videos and stuff like that. And that's where it was. And like I remember like seeing those tapes. I never watched. Like I was never an MMA guy. That's just me. I'm still not an MMA guy. But I remember seeing them. I remember seeing the old logo with the big guy with the two fists, Ultimate Fighting Championships.
Yeah.
And the big. I mean, listen, if you think like the UFC belts are obnoxious now or look like toys, man, those first UFC belts, the Ultimate Fighting Championship belts, were pardon me. They were obnoxious.
If they slip, it slips.
All right, yes, I want to make sure. I want to check because I do. I have a Jersey mouth.
I was going to say you do have the worst mouth I've ever heard in my life.
I've been told that several times in my life. But they were obnoxious looking belts. I do remember that. So just seeing where it's come from there, where it was no weight class, no anything like that. You'd have a 400-pound guy fighting Hoist Gracie, or something like that. Like it was crazy. To be that kind of where it actually was that kind of like a cockfight, like a dog fight.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like throw them in there, see what happens. To see where it is now as an absolute legitimate combat sport that is outperforming boxing almost across the board now, which is still incredible to think of how far boxing has fallen compared to UFC or combat sports in general. You really do have to give it up to Joe Rogan and to Dana White, as much as people want to get into it with him about what he pays the fighters and the fighter pay and fighters unions and all that stuff. And I understand that point as well. That's a whole other complete different topic.
Yeah.
But seeing what they've done with the growth of that sport is really incredible. So,
and it's kind of funny you brought up about how there's been a union push for probably a good 5-7 years now, I really thought by this point there would have been a union put in place, especially now. I don't know if you saw, I think it was about a month ago, Dana White giving a YouTuber, one of the famous celebrity YouTubers, whatever, a birthday gift of $250,000 when his main event fighters only make, now I say only, but make about 100,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw him talk about this on the Pat McAfee show. Because it was brought up, and he kind of went off, and he was just like, that was my personal money that I gave to somebody. That's not like I went to the UFC vault, stole the money from the fighters, and gave it to this UFC this YouTube somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's not what happened. But people see it as, it's the optics of it, of seeing
Exactly.
him give money, whether it's his personal money or not, which apparently it was. But giving his personal, like giving somebody $250,000 when your fighters outside of the real top earners don't make anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
But then you get into the balance of it. Okay, fine. There's a union. They're gonna fight to get more cuts, bigger cuts. More money, which is listen, I think no matter what you do, you should fight to get the most you can for what you do or for what you earn.
Exactly.
But then it cuts into the business side. Well, okay, so they'll do that if they fight for it, if they get more money, if they get a bigger cut. Then what gets cut because of it? Are there less fighters? Is it less shows? Is it do they cut back on the Ultimate Fighter? Do they do you never know what the consequences of things happen are. So at the end of the day, I think that's an aspect that you have to look for too. You can't just say we'll just pay everybody more and then like, okay, yeah, but where is that money coming from? So I think that has to be worked out too. It's never as simple as everybody wants it to be.
Yeah.
As easy as it would make life to be that way. I think the fighters absolutely do deserve more money. Listen, if I'm getting my head caved in, I want a significant payday.
Well, yeah.
That's just that's the be all end all of it. If I'm going to do that, if I'm putting my body on the line for your entertainment and my safety and my health, I want as big of a cut of that as possible. And then it's just a question of who gets what, who gets the percentages of what cut, where you are in the card, does that determine your percentage, things like that. Like everything like that would probably have to get worked out in a collective bargaining agreement. It'd be a whole big thing. So
see, the first thing that if I was a fighter, I mean, obviously yes, money, a pay raise would definitely be nice, but first thing would be better health insurance, however you want to call it. Most of these fighters, the UFC doesn't pay for their health insurance. They got to pay out of their pocket.
Well, no, I think that because I think they're listed as independent contracts. It's the same thing like WWE does with their wrestlers. You're not an employee; you're an independent contract. They contract you for that. Now, you also, while you're contracted for them, you can't go ahead and go anywhere else or do anything else. So it's kind of you're an independent contractor, but not really. So. But that's something that's been worked around and that people have done for ages. Like, here's the thing: does the WBC, like, I don't know anything about boxing, but it's like, does the IBF or WBC, do they pay for the health care of their fighters, or are their fighters have to pay for their own out of the purse that they get? Like, I don't know. Now, granted, boxers and the big name boxers make a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
But see, that's the other thing too. Is like, you think about like those smaller Friday Night Light fights, or a lot of those smaller bouts. Those guys aren't making a ton of money. Do they have the health insurance? Do they get, how much of the percentage do they get? How much cut do they get?
Yeah, that's true.
At the end of the day, like if you want to look at that, like maybe combat sports in general, boxing, MMA, whatever, needs more people to speak up on the behalf of the fighters, of the people performing, and to get a better cut of the money. or like you just said, maybe even if it's not money, even if they get a little bit more money, but they get health insurance on it. Like if UFC is like, listen, we'll cover the fact that this dude just pushed your nose to the back of your skull.
Yeah,
we'll cover that. Maybe that would also help in the aspect of compensation, and also with PR too. It's like, listen, at the end of the day, everything is PR.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a lot of things like, listen, okay, fine, we're gonna pay our athletes a little bit more. Also, we're gonna cover the medical expenses or anything that comes directly from fighting for us. And even then, it might not be enough for some people, and some people will yell about it. But it'll be a step in the right direction as far as that goes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're never gonna please everybody, but try to please as many as you can.
Right, and also just do what's right. Like, do what's right by the people that are doing it. You know,
because like you said, again, they're the ones going in and kind of putting their lives on the line here, while you sit ringside and rake in millions of dollars a year. You should take care of your people.
And it's the thing of like with any job, anybody who has a job that's something like that, it's like you're going to go for the job that pays you the most and can give you the best and most benefits that you can get compared to any other job. And sometimes that might be you take a little less money up front for better benefits packages overall, or sometimes you'll take the money, or you'll take a little less benefits, or you'll find something that's kind of in the middle, or whatever. But it's your decision, it's your choice. You try to find what's best for you, and I think that's what these fighters should have the ability to do. Now, whether or not the problem is, there's really no other entity quite on the level of UFC in the MMA game where other people can go to and say, okay, well, this isn't good, I'm going to go jump over here because they give me better benefits or more money, whatever. So with that being the case, I could definitely see where you would have to get the UFC to pony up that and try to get more of that going. Now, of course, the UFC being a business, and again, Dana White is he running it? Is he the CFO, or because I know there's more money behind him, right? Like, who runs?
So
UFC
it's not the Ferreira brothers anymore. They sold him, I'd say probably about 8-10 years ago,
right,
to this company in China, this entertainment company in China. So Dana reports to them. So there's only basically one more level above him. So I think that would make Dana CEO, or.
I guess maybe he runs it while they own it. So he might be the CEO or the COO, chief operating officer, whatever the case is. Funny that an entertainment company from China owns them. Seeing how China's communist, you'd figure they'd want to take care of their workers. Proletariat, rise up. But apparently, no. So again, that's going to have to be something that gets discussed and gets worked out by everybody, and we'll see. But I didn't even know where we were going with this. We just kind of trailed off here into UFC union talk. But
I was only going to use this like as an opener, get back into having a guest on, and here we are talking unions and health insurance.
We ran right into it. Communist Party of China. We got all. I mean, it's the whole gamut here. My goodness. But I think that's probably, and it's going to happen soon. I think you're going to see it too. And Dana's going to dig in his heels, and it's going to be more. But once you get enough fighters to do it, because that's it. I think right now each fighter sees themselves as individuals, and haven't quite been able to come together. Once you get more than a handful of fighters together, and it has to be also top flight talent there as well. Once you get them to kind of band together and say, okay, no more, that's when you're going to start seeing a little bit more probably of a negotiation. Because right now, if somebody just steps up and is like, I think we should have a union, it's like, okay, guess what, you're not fighting in the UFC anymore, bye-bye.
Exactly.
And
that was the biggest fear when the union talk got started. And it actually did, I'm pretty sure it did happen. The one female fighter who publicly went out and was like, we need to get a union going. We need fighters to back me here. I'll push it, this and that. And a week later, she was out of a job. Now, I mean,
Right.
she's fighting in Bellator. So, I mean, she at least has a paycheck coming in, but not making...
But again, a much lower paycheck. And again, so the same situation as UFC, only less.
Yeah.
And so then that's the thing, is that other people see that. And then they're like, well, then I better keep my mouth shut.
Exactly.
You know, what it takes is, again, it takes basically a union. It takes getting a lot of people together to say at one time, and it also has to be top flight people that you can't lose.
Yeah.
You know, so, and again, when that happens, if that happens, it'll happen soon, but I don't know.
So real quick before we move on to the next topic here, Conor McGregor being in Roadhouse. What do you think?
Again, that's if it gets made. Like, man, this Roadhouse movie, the remake has been in production hell for.
I mean, they casted Jake Gyllenhaal, so I mean, it's
but they've cast people. They casted Ronda Rousey like 8 years ago. Whenever they
yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's right.
So this movie's been in development hell for a long damn time. So again, if it gets made, sure. But the fact that it's been taking this long to get it kind of off the ground to begin with, and second of all, like, man, don't touch a classic.
Yeah,
don't touch a classic, man. It's Roadhouse.
That's my biggest thing is, you know, Patrick Swayze set the bar high now, for, you know, to remake this movie here, and it's not going to be good.
Listen, we've been surprised by movies before where we thought, oh, this was going to be a big top pile of dog crap, and it ended up being good. Whether this is that, I don't know. But again, until it's actually made, until there's post-production and it's editing and it's, you know, it's ready to go and they have the marketing for it and you're seeing commercials and trailers for it, until that happens, I'm not gonna sweat over it.
Even then, it's not safe. I mean, look at what happened with Batgirl. Made everything almost out the door, and no, we're not going to put it out there.
Yeah, and they did try to cover it up, saying like, well, we're changing marketing focuses, and we're going to go more with theater releases than anything on streaming, and blah 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 blah. I think what happened though at the end of the day is more stuff started leaking out about it. Is that it was just garbage.
Yeah,
like it was so bad, and considering how bad DC has been. For it to be that bad to where the new heads of HBO, Warner Brothers, Warner Brother Discovery, I think is the new company now, for them to look at it and say, we can't release this at all.
Yeah.
Like it will never see the light of day.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be a level of bad. And I think what they kind of want to do too, that's been coming out, is that they kind of just want to wipe everything clean, start fresh, and do what they should have done 10 years ago, which is kind of follow the Marvel plan of setting up things, doing it movie by movie, going it real slow.
Yeah.
That was the problem with DC, is that they tried to put out too much too fast. They put out Justice League before there was ever an Aquaman movie or a Wonder Woman movie or a Flash movie, which that might get flushed too, simply because Ezra Miller is
he's
apparently
crazy.
One of the greatest villains of all time. You know, he's supposed to be playing the Flash. He's apparently is real life Reverse Flash because he is just an evil son of a bitch.
I seen a meme about him with the new Predator movie that came out on Hulu, I think it was.
I do want to see that. I've heard it's very good. I
didn't see it yet. I was skeptical, but the more I seen comments about it, I definitely want to watch it.
I've heard it's very good. Yeah.
But the meme, it was 4 pictures, and the quote said, ranking the Predator movies, and it was like Predator 1, Prey, which is the new one, Predator 3, and a picture of Ezra Miller.
Of Ezra, yeah. No,
like,
I mean,
Jesus.
listen, if you read some of the stuff that he's allegedly accused of doing, like kidnapping people, breaking into houses, like punching people, like dude, what are you doing? Like, he can't be doing this. Like he can't be doing nah. Like,
he definitely doesn't have a support system around him. But you know, since you brought up the word allegedly, we were gonna.
Oh boy,
we were gonna talk
Here we
about
go.
Aaron Rodgers, but let's go into
let's strap in.
Let's crack our knuckles and Deshaun Watson. So,
oh boy.
The latest I saw was earlier today, I believe it was, Roger Goodell came out and said that they feel they have plenty of evidence against Deshaun Watson and the suspension needs to be longer.
Well, that's because that was what the quote came from the owners' meeting yesterday, where they approved the Waltons there of their ownership of the Broncos.
Okay.
So they're now, first of all, the wealthiest owners in the NFL. I think they have something like $60 billion or something like that. So good for them. But yeah, so he gave that quote and he said, like, with all the evidence that was presented and that Judge Sue Robinson saw and that everybody else saw, we believe that the suspension should be a year and that Deshaun is shown predatory behavior. Now, again, as I've heard other people say, that is the strongest language I've heard from Goodell on a subject in a long time, if maybe ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's come out and he's tried to be very forceful on this. Where do you stand on this whole situation, this whole Deshaun Watson masseuse gone wild situation here?
Suspension wise, all right, let me take a step back to this way. Here's my feeling, and it's probably the wrong way to think about this, but if there is 30 women that come out and say he did something inappropriate to us, let's go to civil court, this and that. What is, and the one guy from NFL Good Morning or whatever they call it, Brant or whatever his name is, made a good point. What's the chances of 30 women coming together and say, hey, let's try to get money off of Deshaun Watson by saying he did this? If it was one or two or maybe even five, I'd say, okay, maybe these girls are trying to get money off of Deshaun. I think something did happen. I think he definitely broke the policy, and I think he deserves a year only because MLB, I believe, set the suspension bar for situations like this with the Trevor Bauer suspension. I think he got 2 years or a year suspension for his thing, and I think his thing was a lot worse because it was physicality, beating him up, choking, all that stuff. So I definitely think Deshaun deserves one full season. With that being said, you just brought up about Goodell saying predatory, very strong language. I think this judge that handed down the 6-game suspension opened the door for Deshaun to either keep the 6-game suspension or have it lowered by saying she believes the actions that Deshaun did weren't, how did she say it? Non-violent. So if it was violent, that would be up there with the Trevor Bauer situation. By saying non-violent, she's saying something did happen, but wasn't that bad. So I think that opens the door for, and Deshaun's camp already came out and said, I think it was like last week they said it, they're going to use the Big Ben suspension as their defense, which again, that's a good move to either keep the 6-game or have it lowered, because Big Ben was allegedly, if you ask all the Steeler fans, that something happened.
Well, this is the thing, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. And listen, this might get a hot take, and this might get people upset or mad or whatever. But so be it. When it comes to everything that happened, first of all, like, Deshaun has from the start said, done everything, and also a lot of things I see people saying now about him, like, oh well, guilty people don't settle in court. If anybody remembers, Deshaun did not want to settle. He didn't want to settle, and he didn't want any NDAs. He didn't want any non-disclosure agreements. He didn't want any of that. He wanted to fight every single case that was coming up to him in court. And again, I think it started off with the 1 or 2, and then it jumped to 4.
Yeah,
and then from then on, it snowballed out of there. So again, out of the 26 cases or whatever, one can reasonably assume, and this is just on the assumption, that not all of them were legitimate accusations.
Yeah, but not 25 of them.
So, and then here's the other thing too. With all the the evidence that was presented in his hearings with Judge Sue Robinson, the NFL put forward 4 cases. These were considered the 4 strongest cases, the most believable cases, the cases that had the most evidence to support them, in which that something nefarious had happened. And in these cases, Judge Sue Robinson came out and said that while there was more than likely inappropriate behavior, there was nothing that crossed the line as far as violence or sexual assault. So you have that. Then you also have the grand juries that looked at his cases in Texas, and you had 2 grand juries come back without any indictments on them based on the evidence in the case.
But
2 of the cases that are considered to be the strongest and best cases.
But here's the thing, though, and this is the other thing I don't understand, and maybe, again, it's the wrong way to think about this, but if you truly feel you're innocent, why settle? Push it to the point. Because here's the other thing, too, because there were 26 cases. Now, here's the other thing, too. Deshaun didn't want to settle. He did not. Remember that. You have to put that out there. He did not want to settle any of the cases. I believe that it was, his lawyer, and I'm going to imagine probably the Browns and the NFL, too, probably wanted him to settle simply because of the fact, too, just based on a litigious factor, like having all those cases he'd be in court for 30 years. Yeah, but I mean,
each one of those cases would have to be heard.
Yeah.
So you'd be in court for literally ever. But so again, a lot of the times it becomes easier to just say literally screw it. But here's $1 million. A lot of the times, however much it becomes easier.
Yeah, it's all classified.
To just say, but at the end of the day, and again, that's something here's $1 million because he wants his side of the story out there. We don't know. To me, somebody who's guilty, but at the end of the day, and again, that's something I'm not settling because he wants his side of the story out there. To me, somebody who's guilty, I want them to be able to say something. Doesn't say I want to screw this. Say something. I'm not settling. And also, he has come out. I don't want from the start. I want them to be able to say something because I want to be able to say something too. To me, there's like he has come out that from the start. Like in that a guilty person doesn't do that. A guilty person would have been. To me, there's a lot of that, and he would have settled those. Like a guilty person doesn't do that. A guilty person would have been like, listen, let's do all that, and he would have settled those. He sat out and as soon as he could have for kind of them all out of the way. He wanted to get traded from Houston and do all that, and they weren't going to trade him. Sat out and then there was this whole for the Texans for kind of hanging over. One, he wanted to get traded from that Houston, started in that offseason. They weren't going to trade him. Now again, there were a lot of conspiracy there was this theories at the time saying that hanging over him. Maybe started that, or they were trying to get into it. Now again, there were a lot of conspiracy theories at the time saying that, like, well, the Texans even got maybe started that, or they were trying to get into it. What I don't know how true that is. I doubt any of that's true either, because I think the Texans even got at the end investigated for what their part might have been presented to us. But and what's been presented to the people who make these decisions, when you look at the Texas grand juries, those prosecutors. And what's been presented to the people who make judges and Judge Sue Robinson, grand juries, who was a neutral party in this case. When you take everything like that, those judges who have seen and Judge Sue so Robinson, much more than what was a neutral party in this case. When you take everything like that, as far as the evidence and the stories, so much more like that goes than what we've seen. Or probably will ever see, as far as the evidence and the stories and everything is like that goes. I don't know what constitutes I don't know what suspend them for a year, suspend them indefinitely, kick them out of the league. I don't know what constitutes the because suspend them for a year, suspend them indefinitely, kick them out of the league. I see it as mentality, as because listen, look at the facts and the evidence of the case. Again, I see it. We can't see, but that people who have to judge facts and evidence look at the facts and the evidence of the case.
Yeah.
again, then we can't see, but that no indictments have to judge with two grand juries do and see. For Sue Robinson to say, and it returned no indictments. Yes, twice. Was there something inappropriate that happened? Absolutely. And for Sue Robinson to say, but yes, was there anything inappropriate that happened that was absolutely violent, egregious, that steps to the level of? Is there anything like a Ben Roethlisberger was accused of doing? Violent, egregious, that steps to the level like we saw Ray Rice do with his wife. Something like anything like Roethlisberger was accused of doing. That stepped up to that level? And she said no. Like we saw Ray Rice do with his wife. Was the precedent or anything like that? By those, was there anything that stepped up to that level? So I think, and she said no. Long and short, at the end of the day, and plus there was the precedents already set by those 6 games. So I think probably long and short, at the end of the day, with what we know and then what's been 6 games said and what's been proven, probably and what the evidence suggests. With what we know and then what's been that the only thing said and what's been proven that people and what are looking evidence for suggests is because of the optics and because and that the only thing more the accusations that people are looking for haven't been because of the optics and evidence that has been seen by both Judge Sue Robinson and by these Texas grand juries.
Kind of
evidence that has been
to
seen
move on to like branch off
Judge
of this
topic
here,
and by these Texas
so let's just
grand jurors.
Assume, kind of to move on to like branch off of this topic here. So let's just assume, how does the NFL fix Deshaun gets 6 game suspensions? Like, Ray Rice gets 6 games for beating up his wife. How does the NFL assume Deshaun gets 6 games for these suspensions? Like, Calvin Ridley gets a full Ray Rice gets 6 games for betting up his wife. Team to win. Assume Deshaun gets 6 games for this. Calvin Ridley gets the Ray Rice full season for betting on his team to win.
And then when the video came out, this is the thing. Is when the NFL then the Ray Rice one started down the hammer. 2 games or 3 games, and then when the video came out, that's going on right now with the Deshaun case, when the NFL doesn't want that to happen down the hammer, and they don't want leads directly into the problem that's going on right now with the Deshaun case. The NFL doesn't want and then have there be some other allegation or some other evidence that comes out, a 3-game suspension or a 6-game suspension, like theRay Rice situation. Some other allegation or some other evidence that comes out, they didn't say anything and blah blah blah. So bad, like the Ray Rice situation. Now and then it looks like they didn't do enough and they didn't say anything and blah blah blah. Whatever was like the precedent's already been set. I think some of the suspensions that the NFL's done with Robinson said with Ray Rice. Like the precedent's already with some of the other suspensions that they've done for the personal conduct that the NFL's done with Big Ben, with Ray Rice. They're trying to, and with some of the other suspensions that they've done for the personal conduct implement new guidelines without negotiating with the NFLPA or the Players Association on what to implement those guidelines for suspensions would be without negotiating with the NFLPA when it comes to something like the Players Association on what for personal guidelines for suspensions like what's going on with Deshaun. So I think like that's when it comes to something like in the CBA for personal conduct policy, like this is what this will be like for this. For this, these are the new precedents that we're setting. Like you can't judge it, but you can't say this will be. Well, now we think it should be this way. Like these are the new precedents. Even though in the past it hasn't been. You can't judge it, but you can't say. I think. Well, now we think it should be this way. Is making. Even though in the past it hasn't been without negotiating. That's not a personal conduct. That's the point. That's straight up gambling. Now, I don't know. I don't believe he gambled on the Falcons. That's not a personal conduct on his own team thing. That's straight up gambling. Now, I don't know. I don't believe he gambled on the Falcons. I don't believe he gambled on his own team. At the end of the day, that is one of the biggest sports in any league, no matter what it is. Okay. At the end of the day, that is the biggest number one problem sports in any league, no matter what it is.
All right. I mean,
even if it's not your own team, if it's your biggest number one problem, anything like that, because again. Different players. I mean, even if it's not your own team, if it's your sport, anything like that, because again, forever. That has been different players, different things. It could lead to.
But even like say like Josh Gordon,
kind of stuff. That's been forever. That has been
the first couple years. I think towards the end there was PEDs. But even like say like Josh Gordon.
But here's the thing. Again, those
the first couple years. I think towards the end there was PEDs.
In the CBA, they're negotiated and they're there. Here's the thing. Again, those are there with the personal conduct already in the CBA. They're negotiated and they're there. And that's when people are saying that's not there with the personal conduct. Look at what they did to the Dolphins. And I think look what they did to Calvin Ridley. And meanwhile, and that's when people are saying get off basically with a slap on the wrist. Look at what they did to the Dolphins. These things are Calvin Ridley. And meanwhile,
listed,
Deshaun
written,
Watson's
already
going to
known
get off basically
in the
with a slap
CBA.
on the wrist. It's
You
because
gamble on the NFL.
These things are
You get caught gambling on the
listed,
NFL.
written,
This is
already
the penalty.
known. You get
In the
you
CBA.
tamper with people
You
in the
gamble
NFL.
on the
You try to
NFL.
do things like
You get
that.
caught gambling on the NFL.
These are the penalties
This is
that
the
you're going to have
penalty.
to face.
You get
These
you
are
tamper
listed,
with people in the
it's there,
NFL.
black and white.
You try to do things like
No
that.
mistake about it. These are the
Do you think,
penalties that
do you
you're
think
going
the
to have to
NFL
face. These
and
are the
maybe the Players
listed,
Association
it's there,
too
black and
is
white.
going to learn from this and maybe
No
the next
mistake about
CBA?
it.
Do you think the NFL
Make the right-
and a little bit
maybe
clearer?
the
The Players Association
the
too
Players
is
Association
going to
dropped
learn
the
from
ball
this
on
and
a
maybe
lot
the
of
next CBA. Make-
namely, again, with this
make
whole
the writing a
situation,
little bit clearer.
The whole reason that we had
Players
the Sue
Association dropped the
Robinson
ball on a lot
come
of
in
things.
to do, namely, again, with this whole situation,
judging of this,
the whole reason
was
that we
'cause
had
that
the Sue
they wanted to take it
Robinson
because
come
remember
in
it
to
was
do, Goodell made the decision,
independent
and then you could appeal the
judging of
decision
this
if you wanted to,
was
but then it
'cause
went to
that
Goodell.
they
wanted to take it because
And he was
remember,
gonna be like,
no,
it
it's
was
fine. Like what
Goodell
happened
made
with
the
Tom Brady
decision,
situation.
and then you could
Yeah.
appeal the
So
decision
they
if you
were
wanted
fighting
to,
and
but
said
then
like,
it went to
okay,
Goodell.
we're not going to have that
And he
anymore.
was gonna
So
be like,
what did
nah,
they do?
it's fine. Like,
Okay,
what
there
happened
was
with
going to
Tom
be an
Brady's
independent
situation.
third
Yeah.
party.
So they
that
were
will
fighting
listen
and said like,
to
okay,
our
we're not going to
arguments
have
and
that
come
anymore.
to
So what
a,
did they do?
Okay, there was
Uh,
going to be an independent,
fair
third
and
party
impartial judgment
that will listen
Okay,
to
that's fine.
our arguments.
NFL
and
didn't
come
like
to
that.
A,
Well, now the NFL gets to appeal it.
Who do they get
Fair
to appeal
and
to?
impartial
The
judgment.
NFL.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Now again, they're
the
saying
NFL didn't like that.
Goodell
Well, now
has
the NFL
put
gets to appeal it. Who
former
do they
New
get to
Jersey
appeal
Attorney
to?
General,
The NFL.
Yeah.
as the
Now,
as
again,
the
they're
person
saying
who's gonna
that,
hear
uh,
this.
Goodell's
has
not gonna
put,
listen to it.
Former New Jersey
Supposedly,
Attorney
but
General,
like
as the person who's going to hear
is
this.
Goodell
Goodell's not
to
gonna
it, or is
listen to
Goodell
it.
going to make sure this guy,
Supposedly, but again,
make sure that
like, grease the
when you hear
palms a
this
little
appeal,
bit.
right? Is Goodell
And then
not
that's the
listening to
problem
it,
is
or
that
is
once
Goodell
that
going to make
appeal's
sure
heard
this
and
guy,
whatever this
hey,
guy
listen,
makes his
make sure
judgment
that
or
statement,
when you hear
palms
this
a little
appeal,
bit.
that sticks
right.
no matter what.
And then that's
You
the
can't
problem is
appeal
that
it. You
once
can't
that
do anything
appeal's
like
heard
that.
and whatever
Yeah.
this guy
And I think
makes
that's
his
the problem. I think if it
judgment
goes
or
to a
statement,
year,
then that sticks no matter
then
what.
we
You
go to
can't
court.
appeal it. You can't do anything like that.
Now, did
And I
this
think
happen
that's
with
the
the
problem. I
Ezekiel
think if it
Elliott?
goes to a year,
kind of same
yes.
situation.
Then we
And
go to
his went to
court.
court and it got lower. Now,
right?
didn't this happen with Ezekiel Elliott?
if I remember
kind of same
correctly,
situation.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and his went to
So
court
I think,
and it
that's
got
what's gonna happen.
lowered,
But
right?
again, here's the
Or did he
thing.
not
I
do the
remember
same thing?
correctly. Suspension's
yes.
already been implemented.
Yeah.
Like that's
So
there.
I think,
Yeah.
and that's
so
what's going to
if
happen.
this
But again,
does go to, let's say that,
here's the thing. Now the 6-game suspension's already been implemented.
This
Like, that's
New Jersey
there.
Attorney
Yeah.
General,
So
former
if
New
this
Jersey
does go
Attorney
to,
General,
let's
is going to
say
come out and
that,
say,
let's say, for
hey,
the sake of your argument, this is what's
we're
going to
upping
happen.
it to a year.
This New Jersey Attorney General,
now
former New Jersey Attorney General, is going to come out and say,
sues.
hey,
And
we're upping
for
it to
whatever,
a year.
or whether the NFLPA sues
Okay,
or not,
now
they might on his
Deshaun
behalf, he might
and the
do it by himself,
NFLPA
whatever the case
sues.
is.
Yeah.
Fine.
And for whatever,
Judge
or whether
puts
the
in an
NFLPA
injunction,
sues or not, they might
which
on
is
his
what they did
behalf,
for a
he
lot of
might
these
do
other
by
guys,
himself,
for
whatever the
Ezekiel,
case is.
for
Yeah.
while their appeals being heard,
Judge puts
in
in
an
an
injunction,
injunction,
you can't, which is what they did for a lot of these other guys.
with
For
Deshaun,
Ezekiel, for
even if he gets the injunction,
while their
he still
appeals
can't
being
play
heard
until
Yeah.
court, they put an injunction. You can't
because
suspend
the
him.
6-game suspension
with
isn't
Deshaun,
what's being appealed.
even if he gets the injunction, he still can't play until
The
week
additional,
7.
because
games.
the 6-game
Uh,
suspension isn't what's being appealed.
11 games or whatever it's going to be.
It's for the whole season.
the additional.
So that's what's being appealed.
games.
So he's still, even with suing,
11
even with
games,
bringing
whatever
it
it's
to
gonna
federal
be.
court,
for the whole season.
he
So
still
that's
wouldn't
what's
be
being
able to play
appealed.
for those first
So
6
he's still,
games.
even
Yeah.
with suing,
Now, here's
even with
another
bringing
point
it
to think of as
federal
well.
court,
He still wouldn't be
if
able to
he
play for
does
those
get
first 6
suspended for a
games.
year.
Yeah.
Now here's another
He
point
might
to think of
just
as well.
sit the year.
Because
If he does get suspended,
the contract that he has with the Cleveland Browns, that
He
massive
might just sit the
$230
year.
million guaranteed,
Yeah.
everything like that.
because
His salary
the
for
contract
this
that he
year
has with the Cleveland Browns
is
is
$1
$1
million,
million.
$230 million
Yeah.
guaranteed,
Yeah. Next
everything
year,
like that.
next year it jumps up to
His
43.
salary
Next year,
for this
everything
year
jumps up.
Yeah.
is $1
So
million.
if you're going to be suspended for a year,
Yeah. And then next
this
year,
is the
next
year you
it jumps
want
up
to be
43.
suspended.
next
Yeah.
year everything jumps up.
So
Yeah.
So if you're going to be
all of
suspended
that
for a
put
year,
together,
this is the year you want to be suspended.
here's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm thinking if it
So,
gets, even if it gets
all
bumped
of
up
that
to a year
put
together, I don't think he fights it, and I don't
Here's
think he
what I'm
sues.
thinking.
I'm thinking
Simply
if it
because of
gets-
that matter,
even if it
of that
gets
it was
bumped up to a
basically
year,
built into the contract.
I don't think he fights it,
that,
and I
like,
don't
listen,
think he sues. I'm going to lose
simply
this year.
because of
Yeah.
that matter of that
And
it
we'll
was
move on.
basically built into the
If
contract.
it gets turned into
that,
indefinite,
like, listen, then that's when you're
I'm
going to
lose this
floor.
year.
Yeah.
Fine. And we'll move on. I honestly
If it
think
gets
what's going to
turned
end up
into
happening is you're going to get
indefinite,
it's
then
going to be
that's
bumped
when
up
you're
to
gonna have
12
a
games. They're going to
floor.
double.
Yeah.
If I had to put
I
money,
think
if I was a
I
betting
honestly
man, if I
think
was
what's going to
Calvin
end up
Ridley,
happening is you're going to get it's
I was
going to
a
be
betting
bumped
man,
up to 12.
I'd
games.
go
They're gonna
ahead.
double it. And I'd say they're.
If I had to put money, if I was a betting man, if I was
12.
Calvin Ridley,
He'll still play.
if I was a betting
in
man
this season.
I'd go ahead.
And I'd say they'll
probably
be
gonna
no.
double it.
I mean, I don't know how it will look
like
on
the
he'll still
PR
play
aspect,
some point in this
but
season.
it'll be better than 6 games in the public
There'll be
relations
no,
aspect.
I mean,
of it.
I don't know how it'll look like on,
Is it
on
something
the
that
PR
he
aspect,
deserves?
but it'll be better
Based
than
on
6 games
evidence,
in the
not an
public relations
accusation.
aspect
I don't
of
know.
it. Again,
None
is
of
it
us
something
know
that
because
he
none of us
deserves?
have seen the evidence, but based on people who've seen
Based
the
on
evidence,
evidence, not an accusation.
there's not enough
I don't
evidence
know.
to back up the
Again,
idea
none
that
of
there
us
should
know
be an
because none of
indefinite
us have seen the
suspension.
evidence, but based on
You
people
know,
who've
that
seen
there's
the
been
evidence,
no
sexual assault. There's been no
there's not
violence
enough
towards
evidence
anybody.
to back up
There's
the
been
idea
no,
that there should be an indefinite suspension.
pardon me.
You know,
there's
there's
been
nobody
no
who's
sexual
enforced
assault. There's been no violence
to
towards
do
anybody
anything.
or
There's been no-
or kept against their will or anything like that. Pardon me.
You know,
there's been
yeah.
nobody who's
so
been
there's no
forced
evidence of that.
to do anything or
The
or
accusations
kept
are
against
bad.
their will or
The
anything
evidence
like that.
is
You know,
creepy.
Yeah.
So
Don't get me
there's
wrong.
no
It
evidence
definitely
of
is.
that. You know,
Some of the stuff
and the
that came out
accusations
about,
are bad.
about him.
the evidence
think
is
the
funniest
creepy.
part of all that.
Don't get
there
me
is a
wrong.
funny
It
thing about
definitely
it.
is.
You know, it's not
Some
a
of the
laughing
stuff that
matter.
came
There's
out
nothing really
about
funny about
him.
this. Let's put that out there right now.
the funniest part of
But
all, if there is a
if there
funny
is something
thing
you could
about
take
this,
from this,
and
that is
again,
it's
it's
not a
not
laughing matter. There's
Yeah.
nothing really funny about this.
is that
Let's put
in
that
the
out
end
there
of
right now.
August,
But
Oh,
if
no,
there is something
you're not
in
going there.
Cleveland,
Oh,
and Cleveland,
you're
of
going
all
there.
places, at in the end of August, there is the
Oh, no,
professional
you're not
in
going there.
Cleveland,
Oh,
and
yeah,
Cleveland,
you're going
of all
there.
places, that is happening. There
in
is
Cleveland,
the
at the end of
professional
August.
That is
masseuse
true.
convention.
That's
I think that is happening. I will put
in
this out
Cleveland
there. I think a
at
part
the end of August.
of
That
any
is true.
punishment that the Sean
I
Watson
I think
faces
I'll
would be
I will
him
put this out
having
there.
to
I
go
think
to
a
this
part
convention of any punishment
go on the stage
that the Sean Watson faces and explain
would be
himself,
him
having to go to this
explain
convention,
what he was doing,
go on the
why
stage,
he was doing it,
and explain himself,
and to offer up an apology.
explain what he was doing, and to move on from there.
why he was doing
That
it.
should be just because,
And to offer
I
up an
want to
apology.
see the Sean.
and to
In
move
the
on
middle
from
of the
there.
masseuse convention.
That
I'm
should be-
sorry, I just
just-
think that would be just
I can
because
see it now.
I want to see the Sean.
Goodell or whoever
in the middle of the masseuse
the
convention.
attorney
I'm
is.
sorry,
comes up
I
to
just
Deshaun.
think that
Okay,
would be-
Deshaun, here's your two options.
I can see it now. Either we'll give you
Goodell
a
or
2-year
whoever
suspension,
the
$10
attorney
million
is comes up to
fine,
Deshaun. Okay,
or
Deshaun,
you have
here's
to
your
do
two
what
options.
King said you have to do.
Either we'll
I'll
give
take
you
a
a
2-year
two-year
suspension, $10 million
I would say,
fine,
listen. It's
or
either
you
it's
have
going
to
to be
do
a
what
full year,
King said you have to do.
or
I'll
we'll
take a
knock it
2-year
down.
suspension, please.
We'll do 10 games. I would say, listen.
But you
It's
have
either
to
it's
do
going to
this.
be a full year.
It's
going to be broadcast on the
Or
NFL
we'll knock
Network.
it down.
It's going to be
10
all
games.
over our social media.
But you have to do this.
And not only
It's
that,
going to be
you have
broadcast
to
on the
take
NFL Network
questions
from the
It's going to be
attendees
all over our social media
of the masseuse convention.
30
And not
minutes.
only
Line
that,
them up.
You have to
line
take
them up
questions.
as long as they got questions
from
to
the
ask,
attendees
You're standing of the
That's what
masseuse
you're gonna
convention.
do. Yeah, but then
What do
he
you
can-
line them up?
Does he say
line them up?
screw it,
As
give me the
long as they got
indefinite
questions to
suspension.
ask, you're
He'll
standing.
just do a.
That's what you're going to
yeah,
do.
but then
What do you
I'm just here
think?
so I don't
Does
get
he
fined.
say?
Screw it,
Oh,
give me the
no,
indefinite
that
suspension.
would be null and void. Can't do
He'll
that.
just do speaking of
Avoid
Deshaun,
whatever
I'm just here
agreement
so I
they
don't get
have.
fined. Speaking of him, you see about him.
No,
He
that
got
would be
pulled
null
over
and void.
DUI.
Can't do that.
That's much.
I'd immediately
Speaking of
void
him,
whatever
least
agreement they
surprising
have.
things in the world, but that's
Speaking of him, you see
Did you
about
see his
him.
mugshot?
He got pulled over for DUI.
No, but I can only imagine.
It looked like he did a 24 shift like we did. Did you see his
Oh, maybe
mugshot?
listen.
He was puffy-eyed.
No, but I can only
and
imagine.
It looked like he did a
how he was
24
driving.
This
shift
is the
like
man
we did.
who, in the last season,
Oh
the
my
Raiders
God,
were in
he was
Oakland, went to the
puffy-eyed
Coliseum
and
was just passing out
close-eyed. Oh,
tequila
how he
shots.
was
This
driving.
is the
Yeah.
man who,
You know what I mean?
Like
Like the man is from Oakland.
Oakland.
He's from that
the
town. He's even
Coliseum
said so
and was
himself.
just
Like
passing out
he is-
tequila shots.
He is
Yeah.
from the streets.
You know
He
what I
is
mean?
of
Like
the
the man
streets.
is
That
from
just who
Oakland.
he
He's
is.
from that town.
He's even
And
said so himself.
none-
Like he is.
Oh, Deshaun Watson.
He is
not
from
Deshaun
the
Watson.
streets.
Sorry,
He
I
is
got Deshaun
of
Watson
the
on the brain here.
streets. That is just
Marshawn
who he
Lynch.
is.
And he's
drunk
drunk
driving. What a terrible example.
Deshaun Watson.
If you're looking at
Deshaun Watson. Sorry, I got
again,
Deshaun Watson on the
this is
brain here. Marshawn Lynch. It's Marshawn.
You're
I'm
going
sorry,
to
I keep
the
on getting
masseuse
drunk
thing
driving. What a
next
terrible
month, aren't
example.
you?
Yeah.
First of all, if you're
It's
looking
like
at Deshaun,
is like
This is
you know,
Sean.
like, first of all,
Marshawn,
it's
Lynch,
Marshawn
and
and
you're
you're
going
sorry,
to
I
the
keep on going
masseuse
model
thing
to somebody that
next
you should be
month, aren't
looking
you?
up
Oh,
to.
boy.
It's like
I was going to say
it's
that's
like,
probably a bad
you
decision
know,
on your part.
first of all, if you have Lynch as your but,
role model
you
or
know,
somebody that you should
again,
be looking up
Oh
to?
boy.
I could
I was
be
going to
mad.
say that's probably a bad decision
Especially
on your
with a
part.
lot of the
to begin
things that
with.
have happened
Uh,
to people who
but,
are connected
you know,
to the Raiders
again,
organization and in
I
Las
could
Vegas.
be mad
In the last
especially
year or
with
so.
a lot of the things that have happened.
Obviously, with
to
all the
people who are
tragedies that have
connected to the
happened
Raiders
there.
organization and in Las
you know,
Vegas
with the one
in
drunk
the
driving
last
incident
year or so.
Yeah.
and
obviously
uh,
with all the tragedies
and
that have happened there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the
you know,
death
with
that
the
that
one drunk
caused,
driving incident,
and
Yeah.
the other,
And
the
the
other, and
the
guy who just
cornerback.
decided to go on
caused,
social media
and
and was just
the
telling
other
people he's
the
going
other
to shoot him and kill him and whatever.
Yeah.
you know,
The
guy who
the Raiders
just
have
decided
not
to
had
go
a great
on social media and was just
Streak.
stretched
Telling
there
people he's
when it
going to
comes
shoot
to
him
that
and
stuff.
kill him and whatever.
And so
he's
yes,
doing.
this is a
So the Raiders
it's a
have not
bad
had a
look
great
for anything that's connected to the Raiders organization.
Streak.
And
Stretch
Marshawn,
there
even
when it
though
comes to
he
that
is
stuff.
and so
retired
yes,
and everything
this
like that,
is
still
it's
kinda
a
has a
bad look
connection
for
to
anything that's
Oakland,
connected
to
to the Raiders organization.
even their time in Oakland
and
and even
Marshawn,
in Vegas
even
now,
though he
obviously.
is
Yeah.
retired and everything like that,
like
still
part of
kind
me
of has a
takes pause
connection
in
to
that
Oakland,
because
to the Raiders, and even their time in
It's
Oakland and even in
Marshawn.
Vegas now,
And
obviously.
as poor of a
but,
decision as
like,
it is,
part of me
takes pause in that because
it's kind of
Marshawn.
almost expected.
I mean, that's honestly what happened with me when I saw that.
Is,
It was like, breaking news: Marshawn Lynch arrested for DUI, and I'm like,
I kind of shrugged my
so?
shoulders.
I mean, that's honestly what happened with me when I saw that.
Maybe that
it was like,
made-
breaking news:
shows
Marshawn
more
Lynch
about
arrested
me
for
than
DUI.
anybody
And I'm
else.
like,
I kind of shrugged my
maybe I'm
shoulders.
just a bad person. I get it. I understand
Maybe
it,
that
and that's
made
fine.
listen.
I'm
Shows
gonna
more
have
about
probably
me than
somebody
anybody
yelling
else
at me because
maybe
I
I'm
play
just
devil's advocate
a bad
Deshaun
person.
here.
I get it. I
I
understand
all
it,
right,
and that's fine.
But
again,
I'm gonna have probably somebody yelling at me because I
of
play
everything
devil's
else that's been
advocate for
happening.
Deshaun here.
Like
That's
maybe
all right.
you know,
But,
Marshawn
again,
kind of had the best time to do this. Of everything else that's been
Because it's
happening,
like,
it's a
like,
blip.
oh,
Maybe
Marshawn Lynch gets caught drunk driving in
Marshawn kind
Vegas. It's
of
like,
had the best
okay,
time
but
to
what
do
about
this.
the Deshaun news? And so it's kind of moved on from
it's
there.
a blip.
Yeah.
Oh, Marshawn
The
Lynch.
only
if
question
all things
I-
considered,
the only
it's
question
like,
I
okay,
have
but what about the
is,
Deshaun news?
what
And so it's
vehicle
kind of
was he
moved on
driving
from there.
when he got pulled over? I hope
The
it
only
was
question
all things
I-
considered.
The only question I
Gurney,
have is he
what vehicle was he
hijacked
driving
during
when he got
college,
pulled over?
and
I
then he did
hope
during
it was
the
the
pros.
pros.
Remember that one? Gurney. That you see the video?
Oh,
He
yeah,
you know,
the
he
in-car.
hijacked.
Yeah, we
he
got
was
in
in
car.
college,
Yeah.
swerving back and
during the
forth.
pros.
Remember that one?
I doubt it was that.
You see the video?
Oh yeah,
the
the car here.
Yeah, he's just swerving back and forth.
Again, I doubt it was
I'm a
that.
betting man. I'm going to say,
I'm gonna go out
I'm
on
going
a
to take
limb
the
here
under on that
and
and say,
say,
that's a negative.
Again, if I'm
So,
Calvin
Ridley, if I'm a betting
we
man,
got a few
I'm gonna
minutes left
say-
here.
I'm going to take the under on that.
Just
one.
want to do a
say
quick
no.
little college football
That's a
talk
negative.
here. So you brought up some.
Boy,
we
not
got a few
much
minutes
has been
left
happening
here.
in college football
Not
this
at
year,
all.
huh?
Just wanna do
not at
a quick
all.
little college football talk here.
We're recording right now.
Boy,
I've
not-
had ESPN
not much
on,
has been happening in college
ESPN
football
on
this year,
this
huh?
whole time
No,
open
not
for
at
breaking
all.
news on Notre Dame. I mean, we're recording right now. I've had ESPN on or Big 12, ESPN on this whole time open for breaking news on Notre Dame. B1G. So
Yeah, well, that's it. Well,
the Big 10 or Big 12.
It's the Big 10.
How do you
but
say them?
It's
'Cause all I
written
know
that
them is-
way.
Okay.
Because that's
B1G.
their logo now.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well,
because I call it
it's the Big 10 with the
10, but
1 and
it's-
the
it's
G near
written
the
that
I
way.
and the G
Okay.
look like
Because
the
that's
1
their
and the
logo
0
now,
or whatever. So
that's how I call it. That's just they're the Big 10, and that's just how I write
The
it.
G near the I and the G look like the
But
1
yes,
and the 0 or
apparently,
whatever.
yeah,
So
that's how I
again,
call it.
they
It's just
haven't
they're the
announced
Big
it yet.
10, and that's just how I write
I've done
it.
some reading on this, actually. So,
But yes, apparently,
is there
yeah,
pictures?
they again they haven't announced it yet. And I've done some reading on this. actually.
entertaining.
was there pictures?
Seuss in college football. There's
That was a knee slapper there, kids.
Oh boy, it's so entertaining. It's like Dr. Seuss in college
Anyway,
football.
That was a knee slapper there, kids.
Oh boy.
yeah, so apparently the deal is that after 40 years with ESPN, the Big Ten is the it was the longest
yeah, so apparently the
continual
deal
run
is that
between
after
any
40 years
college
with ESPN,
conference.
Jesus.
the Big Ten is
it was
network.
the longest
Was the Big
continual
Ten
run between any
and
ESPN
college,
with
conference,
football, basketball, everything.
and
They used to do the
a
Big Ten
and
ACC
network.
challenge and all that kind of
was
stuff.
the Big
basketball
and
ESPN,
so
with
that ended,
football,
they
basketball,
pulled
everything.
out,
They used to do the
ESPN
Big
was
Ten
no longer
ACC
considered
challenge
that,
and all
and
that
what
kind of stuff.
is
with basketball
reported
and-
to be the agreement.
So that
is,
ended. They pulled out. ESPN was no longer
Fox will
considered for that.
retain,
And what is
be the
reported to
main
the
agreement
channel for the Big Ten is
Okay.
with Fox will
CBS,
retain. Be the main channel for the Big Ten.
each
Okay.
getting games
With
for an estimated
CBS
$350 million
and
from each of
NBC.
those networks.
Each
so that's
getting
$700
games
million there,
for
and
an
I think they're
estimated
getting
$350 million from each of those networks.
So that's $700
and it might
million
be more than
there,
that,
and
so
I
don't
think
quote
they're
me on
getting
that.
Yeah.
$500
But
million
anyway, it's it's
from
over $1 billion
Fox.
deal. So it's and it might be
for the
more
Big
than
Ten.
that.
So
from
don't
all
quote
three
me
of
on
these
that.
networks.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's it's over $1 billion.
Now here's
deal.
the thing: NBC
for the Big Ten from all three of these
is
networks.
what they've basically purchased is
Now here's
Big
the
Ten
thing.
prime time.
NBC, so they're going to
Is
air what
They
Big Ten
basically
games
purchased
at like
the
7:30,
prime
8
time.
o'clock
prime time games.
So they're going to air.
So you're going to have NBC
Big Ten games at like
going
7:30,
up
the
directly
7:30
against
the 8 o'clock
the ABC
prime
Saturday
time
Night
games.
Football.
They're going to be obviously more than
so you're
likely
gonna
now
have
is going to be the
NBC
SEC
going up
since
directly
they just
against
got
the
SEC
ABC
just left
Saturday Night
CBS.
Football,
Now
which
CBS
obviously
is more than likely now is
Big
going
Ten
to be
games
that
the
they get
SEC.
to air along with Fox
Since
and
they
NBC
just
as
got
well.
that.
What
SEC
NBC just left
also
CBS.
got
Now CBS
was
is getting
the rights to
Big
stream
Ten
games
that
on
they get
Peacock.
to air along with Fox and NBC
Now that's
as well.
a big,
What
big
NBC
thing too,
also got,
because that's going to
was
be able
the
to
rights
push
to
stream games
their
on Peacock.
their streaming service, which they're
Now
trying
that's
to
a
do.
big,
Yeah.
big
So again,
thing too.
You're
'Cause
probably
that's
not going
gonna
to
be
have
able to
like push the highly marketable
streaming
ones. Like you're not
service,
getting
which they're
Ohio
trying
State,
to do.
Michigan on
Yeah.
So again, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen. You're probably not going to
you're
have
gonna
like
get
the games of like the
if you're an
highly
Iowa
marketable
fan,
ones. Like you're not getting
and
Ohio
you
State,
have
Michigan on
Iowa
Peacock.
versus
That's
Minnesota
not gonna
or
happen.
something,
But you're going to
will be a
get
good
the
game,
games
and it's an
of like,
important
you know,
game
if you're an
to
Iowa
you,
fan,
and
a
you
lot
know,
of
you
years,
have
especially
Iowa
the last couple
versus
ones,
Minnesota or
that's
something,
been
which
a battle for
will
the
be a
Big
good
Ten
game,
West.
and it's an important game to
That's
you.
a game you want
and
to see. A lot of years,
now you're
especially
going
the
to have
last
to get
couple
Peacock
ones,
to see it.
so that's going to drive
been a battle
subscribership
for
up.
the Big Ten West.
That's a game
Here's
you
the
want to
thing.
see.
We've been beating around
Well,
the bush.
now you're going to have to get
Yeah.
Peacock to see it. So that's
Here's
going to
the
drive
main.
subscribership up. As we all know, here's the thing. We've
NBC
been beating
is
around
the
the bush
television
here.
partner.
Yeah.
Here's
for
the
one
University of Notre Dame. As we all know, and the biggest question that we've
NBC
had
is the television partner
in this
for
whole
one
college
University
football
of
shakeup
Notre
ever
Dame.
since USC and UCLA said they
And
were
the
moving to
biggest
Big Ten,
question that
we've
Yep.
had, and probably even a little bit before that,
in
was
this
whole college football shakeup.
What's
ever
gonna
since
happen in
USC
Notre
and
Dame?
UCLA said they were moving to the Big Ten.
Yep.
What
probably
we're probably
even a little
looking
bit
at
before
here
that
now
was
is
what's going to happen in Notre
a
Dame.
couple of things that could happen. What we're probably looking at,
And
here
here's
now
what I think
is-
might happen.
This is gonna. I'm just gonna kind
A
of
couple
put
of
stuff
things
out
that
there and
could
see,
happen.
you know, what you think.
And
what
here's
the
what
people
I
out there
think might
that
happen.
anybody might.
This
think
is gonna-
about
I'm
this.
just gonna
kind of put stuff out there and see.
Option
You
one.
know, what you think. Because here's the other
what the
thing
people
too.
out there
The Big
think
Ten
that
and the
everybody might
NBC
think
and
about
NBC are not
Option one.
having these conversations and doing all
Because
this
here's
stuff.
the other thing too.
The Big Ten and the NBC
also
and NBC,
talking
NBC
to
are
Notre
not
Dame.
Yeah.
having these conversations.
Notre Dame,
and doing
the
all
Big
this stuff,
Ten,
and NBC have
without
been a part of these
also talking
conversations and negotiations
to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
Notre Dame,
whenever
the Big
this
Ten,
does get
and NBC
officially announced,
have been a
part of these conversations and
There's a couple
negotiations.
things that I think could happen.
Number one, so whenever this does get officially
Notre Dame
announced,
is
out with NBC.
There's a couple things that
They're
I think
trying to
could
find rights from somebody
Number one,
else. They end up going on
Notre
another network
Dame
and stay
is
independent. Out with NBC.
I think of all the
they're
options,
trying to find
that's
rights from
probably
somebody
the
else.
Yeah. I agree.
They end up going on another
I
network
wouldn't think
and stay
that's gonna
independent. It could. I think of
Don't
all the
get me
options.
wrong.
That's probably
We've seen
the
stranger
least.
things
Yeah,
happen.
I was going to say with how the past couple
wouldn't
years
think that's
are.
gonna happen. We're seeing again. We're
could.
going to see
Don't get me
USC
wrong.
and UCLA in the Big
We've seen
Ten.
stranger things happen.
I
Stranger
was going to
things
say
have
with how
happened.
the past couple years are.
We're see again. We're going to see USC and UCLA
I
in the
don't
Big
put
Ten.
that
So
at
again,
very much
stranger
of a high
things have happened.
Yeah.
Option two, but I don't.
This
I
is where
don't
Notre
put that at
Dame
very much of a high
negotiates
chance.
a
Contract with
option
NBC
two.
gets their $75 million.
This
that
is
they're looking
where
for
Notre
from
Dame
NBC negotiates a contract with
and
NBC, gets their $75 million
just
that they're
basically
looking for
has
from
all their
NBC
home games
at
3:30
and
Eastern Time, 2:30 there in Notre Dame.
Yeah.
just
But
basically
would have
has
the
all
afternoon
their home
games
games at
since the Big Ten has
3:30, you know,
Eastern Time, 2:30
since
there
they
in
bought the
Notre
right for the
Dame.
Big Ten to have the primetime
but
game.
would have the
They're
afternoon
not going to
games.
move anybody over.
Since
Notre Dame
the
would
Big
keep
Ten
their
has
independence.
you know,
They would get their
since
money
they bought
from
the right for the Big Ten to
NBC.
have the primetime
NBC
game.
gets. They're
not
not
gonna
only do
move
you get
anybody
Notre
over.
Dame, but you get
Notre
Notre
Dame
Dame
would
would
keep
keep
their
their
independence.
independence. They would get their money from NBC.
Big Ten
NBC
primetime.
gets.
Yeah.
Not only do
you're
you
gonna
get Notre Dame,
own
but you get
Saturday.
Notre Dame leading
Yeah.
into
Like that's a great
for NBC.
Big Ten
What you're looking
primetime
at is a
Yeah.
fantastic
Like
deal.
you're
not
gonna
only that,
own
NBC's going to
Yeah.
own.
like that's a great
Weekend for
football
NBC, what you're looking at is a
Oh, yeah.
fantastic deal.
They
not only
own-
that, they're going to own
NBC's
Saturday,
gonna own
Saturday evenings
weekend
with the Big
football
Ten,
prime
and they
time.
own Sunday night with the
Oh,
NFL.
yeah.
They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
own.
So
they're going to own Saturday.
they are in the cat
Saturday evenings with the
Yeah.
Big Ten, and they own
And
Sunday
option-
night with
option
the NFL.
three.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. So
No, because
they
I was just
are
going to
in
say,
the
I
catbirds.
forgot about Sunday Night Football. And
option
and
option three. Oh,
is
yeah.
Collinsworth
No, go right ahead.
still calling it? No,
I
I think it would be a
yeah,
better. I
Collinsworth is
forgot
gonna be
about
Rico and Collinsworth.
Sunday Night Football. Yeah, I was gonna
because I
went
broadcast
is Collinsworth still calling it? Because I think it'll be a
yes,
better. Maybe NBC could throw somebody at Collinsworth and tell him to shut up the whole time. I can't stand him.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for Amazon
be a little bit better. Maybe NBC could throw somebody at Collinsworth and tell him just shut up the whole time.
I like Herb Street as a color. Well, I'm excited for Amazon because that's what you're going to have. Well, Michaels and
now here's option 3.
Which I'm excited. I like Herb Street as a color.
I actually think this one's got a pretty decent
I think that's going to work out well. Now here's
Notre
option
Dame.
Now
3.
everybody always
What
gives
could
Notre
happen.
Dame shit,
And I actually
because
think this one's got a pretty decent
Notre
chance.
Dame.
Yeah.
So you think you're
Notre
elite,
Dame. Now
elite.
everybody always
such a
gives Notre Dame
pretentious
shit
school and
because
pretentious fan base. and
Notre Dame.
You don't play for a championship.
So you think
Everybody
you're
wants a
elite, elite.
special. They
Such
think
a
they're
pretentious
special. They
school
think they're
and
some pretentious
special.
fan base.
You know, Notre Dame is special. It is what it is. And that's the fact of the matter. Take everything out of it. Take the fact that I am kind of a Notre Dame fan. That you're a Notre Dame fan. You know, Notre Dame do all this kind of stuff. It is what it is. And that's the fact of the matter. Look at the facts. Take everything out of it. Take the fact that I am kind of a Notre Dame fan. That you're a Notre Dame fan. We do all this kind of stuff. That the merchandise. When you just look at the facts, you know, everything, the money. Follow Notre Dame is a special viewership, big brand. Follow all of that. And the so that's going to command the view. You know, everything. What I think is a possibility that could happen. It's a big brand.
Yeah.
Here, and so that's going to command different things. Notre Dame, what I think, negotiates is a possibility that could happen with NBC. They get Notre Dame negotiates plus or minus deal. We'll see how the negotiations go, whatever that is. With NBC, probably already done at this point. They get their $75 million plus or minus. We'll see how the negotiations go, whatever that is. Probably already done. They also joined the Big Ten. To remain on NBC. This is what I mean by where this gets special. But they also joined not only would Notre Dame get their own special contract with NBC. Now this is what I mean by where this gets special. Exclusively on NBC. Because not only would Notre Dame time slot their own special contract with NBC to still air their home games exclusively on NBC. In their time slot, they would then join the Big Ten. Usually allotted there at 3:30.
Okay.
Which means that they would then also be available. They would then join the Big Ten of the money that the Big Ten schools get. Which means that they would then also be available for the cut. Which means that Notre Dame gets the money, a bigger piece of the pie, because they also have their own separate agreement with NBC.
Okay.
Which means that Notre Dame gets, and that also means a bigger piece of the pie, because they also have their own separate agreement with NBC. Can play in the primetime game on NBC. And that also means, instead of being that Notre Dame forced to play the all-afternoon games on NBC. And instead of being no mistake about forced to have the all Big Ten game wants Notre Dame.
Well,
and they have said, make no mistake about this. The Big Ten has said, the Big Ten from the start, once they got UC and they have said, they're going to go after Oregon, they're going to go watch the Big Ten is going to be Notre Dame and Stanford pack from the once they got UC and UCLA, and everybody started saying, oh, they're going to go after Oregon, no more expansion. Washington. There's going to be Notre Dame and Stanford package. Notre Dame is the be all. There is no and more not only that, but every unless it's other conference, every other Notre Dame is the deal waiting to see. And not only that, fuck Notre Dame, every other conference, every other college is going to waiting to see.
Notre Dame thinks they're special.
They ain't do nothing. They get and again, this is going to piss people off. That's the key, and this is showing you why. They ain't do nothing. And I get it. Fine. As much as we might have thought, oh, they are time's running out. Maybe they do have to join a conference. That's the key, and this is showing you why. You know, everything else is as much as we might have thought. Oh, maybe time's running out. Maybe they do have to join a conference because at the end of the day, Notre Dame, everything else is controls everything. Turning all the other teams are going and blah blah blah. One of the biggest factors at the end of the day you have to consider here is that the Big Ten controls everything right now. But NBC was one of the biggest factors that now you have to consider here is that the Big Ten that nobody really thought about. NBC was, I think, finally started leaking out and coming down that NBC might be discussing that nobody really thought about. And if they're discussing with the Big Ten, finally started they're discussing with Notre Dame. NBC and if they're discussing with Notre Dame, something's going to happen. And if they're discussing with the Big Ten, at the end of the day, you have they're discussing with Notre Dame. And if they're discussing with Notre Dame, $150 million, something's going to happen to get just a portion. And then at the end of the day, you have NBC of the Big Ten spending $350 million to get just a portion. I'm telling you, I can see this being the right situation. I'm telling that's the other thing with Notre Dame too is Notre Dame's not going to lose their independence for nothing.
Yeah, I mean
they want it to be the right situation. Because that's the other thing with Notre Dame too is Notre Dame's not going to lose their independence.
I think the reason why that option there makes the most sense too, and this just might be
the right price.
Yeah, obviously we don't know what goes on. I think the reason why that Notre Dame's head option there makes the most sense too. I think they want to change. Obviously we don't know what goes on in past, the whole Chip Kelly thing, how that went down. I think they want to change. They got Marcus Freeman in there. They want a new look. The way their past, the whole Chip Kelly thing, how that went down. They got Marcus Freeman in there. They want a new look. But Brian Kelly, with the new head coach, with seeing how the players are fully behind Freeman, I think they want. But with a new head coach, with seeing how the players are, like you said, like behind a lot of people think I think they want to make Notre Dame
the thing. I think
more respectable.
All of that,
like you said, like a lot of people think we're special and
even lower than that. I don't think that's going to be a big thing. I think all of that on their radar. The biggest thing that they're going to look at even lower than that. I don't think that's going to be a big thing. I think actually might be on their radar to that point. The biggest thing that they're going to look at is first of all, while prestige always is, actually might be on there. Money to that point, and also the ability to be competitive. First of all, as it always is, and that's going to be the thing. Money, the ability to and compete also for the championship to be competitive. Because here's the thing right now. If you are not going to be the thing in the SEC, the ability to compete for the championship. To be fighting because here's the thing right now, the title. If you are not in the SEC or the Big Ten, this is where we're going. You are not going towards fighting for an AFC, and it's just not going to happen. Kind of situation.
Yeah,
this is where we're going. We're going towards you're going to have the SEC, you're going to have the Big Ten, AFC, and NFC. You're going to have everybody else kind of situation. And they might just squeeze everybody else out too. Where you're going to have the SEC, you're going to have the Big Ten. Once Notre Dame makes everybody else, and they might just squeeze everybody else out too. And Notre Dame is once Notre Dame makes a move. Notre Dame is the big. Everything else is going to go.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame happens is the linchpin here. Notre Dame is the big piece. From what I can gather, from what I can see here, what Notre Dame wants more than anything, we'll see. But I'm telling you, not be on the outside looking. From what I can gather, from what I can see, the way the winds are blowing, wants more than anything is the fact you are not be on the outside looking for the Big Ten. You are not going to get in. The way the winds are blowing to the college football playoffs, even if they expand the SEC, or the Big Ten, might you are not going to get in. Might let an ACC team in or a Big 12 team, even if they expand it, and that's a big. They might.
Yeah,
they might probably not going to happen. And plus, that's the other thing too. Or if Notre Dame makes a move. And I think those other conferences are dead. I think Clemson, but it's Florida probably not going to happen. And goes to the SEC too. Once Notre Dame makes a move, who's going to get picked. I think those other conferences probably going to have. I think Clemson over there. Florida State, Miami goes to the SEC teams. I think the Big 12 is going to get picked apart. What happens to Oregon and Washington over there? Because that's really what happens to half the Texas teams. Of anything that's a brand. And that's the other thing. What happens to Oregon doesn't want to get left out, but I don't think they have a choice left there. Again, that's a brand. And that's the other thing. Oregon doesn't want to get left out, but I don't think they have a choice. A West Coast thing going with the LA schools. I think until Notre Dame makes a move, be in the Big Ten to kind of keep the so they're kind of stuck in limbo with the LA schools. So you're looking until Notre Dame makes a move. The Big Ten that's what Notre Dame above. So they're kind of stuck in limbo. They want to. So you're looking which money they can. Because that's the other thing too. They want to have the amount of money. They want to now compete with all the NIL deals they can.
Yeah.
Now, hey, because that's the other thing. Guess what? They want to have the amount of money pay to have your students to now compete. You need a football player. Deals. You can pay them. Now, hey, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Straight up, like we've already seen it in Miami now. You need a football player now. You can pay them. It's so hilarious that the NCAA is trying to straight up. Like we've already seen it in Miami now. And stuff like that. It's legal now. Full of money. Like it's so hilarious that the NCAA is trying to come down on Tennessee. You can have a press conference and talk about how much money you're going to pay your recruits.
I was going to say you can do it all in the open now.
You can have a press conference and talk about how much money you're going to pay your teams.
I was going to say you can do it all in the open now.
To put up that money. That's what it is. And that's where we are there. Ohio State's doing it. Have to be able, all the big name schools are doing to put up that money. So you have to be able to do that. Go there. Ohio State's doing it, and Notre Dame realize all the big name schools are doing it. Yeah. So they're going to need. So you have to be able to do that. That money, and Notre Dame realize going to need to be. So they're going to need. Now, could the Big Ten and SEC reach an agreement with the CFP? They're going to need Notre Dame be a special part of it, kind of like how they. Could the NCAA or how they SEC reach an agreement with the CFP to have Notre Dame be a special part of it, kind of like how they exemption the NCAA or how they did it now with college football playoffs. I honestly think with the BCS before that, like Notre Dame as special exemption, they're going to have these guys say stuff like that. They could. Weird make money hand over fist. Those days are Alabama, as far as Ohio State. They're going to have these guys say, listen, and Georgia. Weird make money hand over. We're probably going to have Clemson at some point too, and Miami. We have Ohio State and Michigan. And Georgia, and we're probably going to have Clemson at some point too, and Miami, Nebraska, and Florida State, things like that. Like we have these names. We don't need these Notre Dame, Nebraska, things like that. Like we have a special exemption to be a part of it. We don't need, and I think Notre Dame might also see Notre Dame to be a part of it. So what I can actually see have a special exemption to be a part of it. And I think Notre Dame might also see that negotiates with NBC. So what I can actually see happen on a separate deal is to have Notre Dame, all their games, home negotiates with NBC, broadcast on NBC on a separate deal, and also join the Big Ten. All their some of that Big Ten money and stuff like that, which allows them on NBC to then be on the primetime game on NBC. And also join the Big Ten. Get some of that Big Ten money. I mean, again, they get almost double dip to then be on the primetime game on NBC
and get that special treatment.
I mean, again, they get the almost double dip. Again, Notre Dame's not going to be Notre Dame and get, I think, anything less than that kind of special treatment. And I think again, Notre Dame's not going to give. So whenever this news gets anything less officially announced, that kind of special treatment by NBC, that's what we're looking at. So whenever that deal gets officially released, officially announced by the Big Ten and by NBC, that's when you might see something. Whenever that deal is officially released, and then it's scramble time.
Yeah,
ACC is going to be in trouble. I think that's when you might be in trouble. Something pop off. Pac-12 is already dead. And then it's scramble time. It's going to be a ACC is going to be in trouble. He's going to try to grab up everybody else. In trouble. The Big Ten is going to try to grab some people, I think. And they might grab Stanford and Oregon, maybe. The SEC is going to try to grab up everybody else. They might grab a couple people. The Big Ten is going to try to grab some people, I think. The SEC. They might grab Stanford and Oregon, maybe. Or Washington, 2021. They might grab 25. Somewhere around there, you're probably going to end up with the SEC and 20 teams. Both at like 20 teams. Basically like a 40 team. 2024, 2025. Somewhere around there, you're going to end up with the playoffs. Both of them being at 20 teams. Some kind of thing. You'll have basically like a 40 team league, bracket in the SEC, where you're going to have whoever winners meet for the playoffs. They'll set up some kind of thing. You'll have a bracket in the Big Ten, a bracket in the SEC, and whoever winners meet in the college football playoffs, and that's what you're going to be looking at here. And then everybody else is kind of hey guys, whatever. Like it'll be like the AFC and the bowls that nobody gives a shit about. And that's what you're going to be looking at. Just go there, and then everybody else kind of dead anyway now. Anyway,
yeah, there's just so many bowls out there anymore.
The bowls that nobody gives a shit about. But it's just the point. Just go there because the bowls are kind of dead anyway now. Anyway,
yeah, there's just so many bowls out there anymore. It's
not only that, but it's just the point of a bowl doesn't the NFL minor with the current college. And listen, it's been that for a while. But I think the NCAA was dragging their feet the NFL minor on a lot of this stuff. And it's been that for a while. I'm trying to change things. NCAA not even talking the NIL stuff, long just trying to change the structure of it and how they did business. To change things that not even talking the NIL stuff. Guess what? Trying to change. We don't need the structure NCAA and how they did business. We don't need you. That was it. The conference as a governing body. Yeah. We don't need the NCAA. You're not doing anything, and that's what it is. They passed them by, and now you have the SEC and Big Ten. Because you're not doing anything. Run their own show, and that's what it is. They've passed them by. We are. So, and now you have the SEC some people and Big Ten. Oh, it's not the college football I know. Are going to run their own show. Everything changes.
And you got to evolve.
Some people lament it. I'm kind of excited to see what comes out. You know what?
As
everything changes, man.
Yeah, you got to evolve.
But to tell you the truth, I'm kind of excited to see what comes out of it.
That's good. As am I. But before we go, I kind of forgot to mention in the beginning of the show. I think we kind of ran our little bit of iRacing.
That's good. Yeah.
But before we go, I kind of forgot to mention in the beginning of the show. Friday night is the Stay Tuned Sports podcast truck series. I believe we're at.
Oh yeah, shoot that out.
So actually, Friday night is the Stay Tuned Friday. I survived the whole podcast truck series.
Hey, there you go, buddy.
Actually, Lance first week. I actually had a top good race. I came in ninth place. I was happy about that whole thing.
There you go. Hey, there you go, buddy.
I'm like Rudy. I'm slowly getting. I came in ninth place. So I was happy about that.
There you go.
I think I heard that. I'm like Rudy. I'm just slowly getting better. I might not ever, but I think I heard that race coming up Friday. In the stands. The past couple races that I was involved with. We're going to do another giveaway with this race coming up Friday. This race is 130 laps. Past couple races that I was involved with. Whatever. We're going to do another giveaway. Make sure you go over to our Podbean. This race is 130 laps. Link. And so on this episode, in the comment section, place I'm in, put what place I'm in. Make sure you go over to our Podbean link. I'll get in touch with you guys and underneath this episode in the comment section and stuff like that. And the winner will get a $25 Amazon gift card. I'll get in touch with you guys. So make sure you guys tune in messages over on YouTube, 3YTV, and the winner will get a $25 Amazon gift card podcast truck series. So make sure you guys tune in over on YouTube, 3YTV.
That's a lot.
For the Stay Tuned
to get out there. But you did a good job. I like it.
Thank you. That's enough. yeah, so like I said, I think this is going to be a first week. I want to thank King for coming back on.
You did a good job. I like it. Good.
Absolute pleasure to be here, man, as always.
But yeah, so like I said, I think this is going to be a first week. I want to thank King for coming back on.
Absolute pleasure to be here, man.
I got nothing else going on.
Have you on again. Maybe if you want to go investigate who was Zach Wilson's.
Listen, I got nothing else going on.
If you want to go investigate who was Zach Wilson's.
We've got our best.
Oh, listen,
I'm trying to find out who that milk is. Trust me, I've been looking.
So yeah, so
we've got
just
our
a quick shout out for King here. If you guys need any graphic logos or anything like that, hit him up over on Twitter. So yeah, Facebook. Yeah, anything like that. Quick shout out for King here. If you guys need any graphic logos or anything like that, hit him up over on Twitter, Facebook.
Till next be here, man.
Till next week. Like that. This is your good friend Jimbo. Like I said, buddy, nice to have you back on the show. Till next
be here, man.
Till next week. This is your good friend Jimbo. Signing out.